Hey guys, so there's four parts of the bow stroke that I want you to really master to understand playing the violin properly. A lot of you guys use too much arm, and arm causes tension up against the bow. So I've gone through so many lessons in this series about good technique and not pushing up against the bow with your thumb, your pinky, keeping flexibility. The bow is moving in a circle, not in a zigzag. So really just watch all those lessons to really get a foundation if this is the first one you've watched. But basically there's four parts of the bow stroke that are really important to master on the violin in this order. So basically, when you're first playing, you want the left elbow to come out just a little bit when you play, and then once you reach about right here, which is in the middle of the first two stickers, that's when you really have to do something differently that you're not naturally going to do when you're playing, and that's extension, extension, not arm coming out, extension. See that? See the difference? Not that. We want that, okay? So you're going to really have to work on this. So it's extension to the tip, that's part two. Part three is what we started talking about in the last lesson, which is wrist bending. Part three is wrist bending, wrist bending, wrist bending. Back until that point that I showed you where you have to start extending. And then part four is bending the wrist and bringing the arm back in. So it's arm out a little bit, extension, bending, arm in. Arm out, extension, bending wrist, back in. Those are the four parts of the bow stroke. So I recommend, along with the last lesson that you watched, just to start thinking in that way, keeping the right elbow level, and just do one at a time, keeping solid fundamentals like this. So part one, part two, part three, part four. Part one, part two, part three, part four. Now do that just for a little bit. You don't want to get in the habit of stopping the bow so much, but you do want to get in that mindset of the four differences, the four parts of the stroke, because what a lot of students do is they bow and they never bend the wrist. They never change what they're doing here. Or students use way too much arm, which causes bounces and bad sounds. Or students, they do this with the wrist going down towards the tip, which causes tension. So you want to be doing all these things. And so far we've gone through three drills. We've gone through the index drill, the rocking bow drill, which tests tension. Because a lot of times when we get to the tip, a lot of you guys are changing your grip, making it more tense, which causes bounces, screeches, and bad sounds. So always be working on the drills. So the rocking bow drill, keeping the bow nice and quiet. The index drill. And then in the last lesson we talked about the wrist drill, getting the wrist to do what we need it to do. So with those three drills, you guys are establishing good, solid fundamentals and technique. You're still working on the left hand with Mary Had a Little Lamb, which we learned in a previous lesson. And now you're starting to actually stroke the bow and trying to think of the bow in four parts. You're trying to get the bow to keep moving and not stopping it. You're trying to get to the tip, moving the bow back and forth, keeping it moving, and just create a solid tone, nice solid sound, okay? So after going through this, we're almost to the point of putting everything together. It's exciting. If you've gone through all these lessons, I'm sure you'll find a lot of benefit and reward in your playing.